Hello everybody, and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the Critic Who is a Cynic, and today I have another article from Dork Side of the Force. So this is a website that I have had several issues with over the past couple weeks or so, and it is just not getting any better because it seems to be a pretty straightforward article, and yet it shows once again that people at Dork Side, people on any major media outlet, it seems, especially those that cover Star Wars news, just do not understand what is going on. They failed to admit the fact that they were wrong about the direction that Star Wars was going, and they failed to admit that they need to change the way that they're going and that there are certain problems that need to be addressed. Instead, they love to skirt around the issue, they like to say, and blame so many other factors, so many other things, instead of just looking at what's right in front of them. So let's see what Dork Side says here. It says, Star Wars doesn't need standalone films moving forward. Okay, well, what is your evidence for that? Is it just because of how bad Solo: A Star Wars Story did? Is that the only evidence that you claim to have on this? Because I'm sorry, but Solo was not just a standalone film. It wasn't a very good film. Again, it was a C-level film at best, and on top of that, it was plummeting from what had already been left over from Star Wars: The Last Jedi, which, if you again look at the numbers, you see that it only made like 30% of its total gross in the remaining time that it was out past its first 2 weeks. And why is that the case? Well, look at the numbers of how it dropped. Again, it dropped 70% from week 1 to week 2. Why do you think that it dropped so much? It wasn't because people had seen it and didn't want to see it again. It was because bad word of mouth began to hurt the film. And that extended over to Solo. And I guarantee you that will continue to pass over to Episode 9, unless they make major changes. Again, unless they get rid of people like Kathleen Kennedy, unless they start to really listen to the fans and not attack the fans. Because again, just the other day, we had another employee at Lucasfilm attack the fans and say various things that just aren't true. And it's just amazing to me how a company can say, yeah, let's just attack the people who are actually going to buy our product. Let's attack the people who are the ones who are the most passionate about our product. And let's think that, oh yeah, we'll make money still though, because we just slap Star Wars on it and then it'll make money. Well, Solo is a perfect example of that. And it's not because it's a standalone film. It's because it was a mediocre at best film, and it was in the wake of what happened with The Last Jedi and everything that Rian Johnson's been saying, etc. So again, I'm just wanting these people to actually admit and see what is true, what is right in front of their faces, instead of trying to skirt around it. And the people at Dorkside are some of the worst people behind this. They're some of the worst people that do this. Again, they just ignore everything. They ignore reality. They throw the same punches that people like Rian Johnson do on Twitter, except they actually try to parade it as if it's legitimate news, and instead they just ignore everything altogether. So just want to get that started off. Already with your title, it's, again, you're completely off base. We want to have Star Wars standalone films. There's nothing against that. Again, Rogue One was a standalone film. Now, some might argue saying, oh, but it was a prequel in a lot of ways, but it was still a standalone film. Again, it was the first Star Wars story that existed, and that film still made $1 billion. Why? Because it was a film that did not really delve into the narrative of identity politics too much. Again, there was definitely some of it in there, and also it was still riding the high of The Force Awakens, which had made $2 billion, over $2 billion, just a couple years before that. And so it is still something, or actually the year before that, because that's when they were trying to start doing a Star Wars every single year. And so what we had to understand then is that it's not because Solo did not fail because it's a standalone film. That has nothing to do with it. Again, I think it could be really cool if they make Star Wars into something like the MCU, where they have these individual projects. The problem is that you have to make it a good film. You have to have good, competent writers, good, competent directors, but also you need a good production team. You need a good group of people who are going to want to please the fans, who are going to want to get the fans to give them money. And it's so easy to do that. I just don't understand why they have just had so much struggle. I mean, obviously I know it's because they would rather put their own politics into films. They would rather just stick by their politics instead of actually trying to make a good story, a good coherent story, a good movie. And that's the biggest problem. That is the biggest problem with all these people going forward. So anyway, this is by a man, JW, of Dork Side of the Force. So it says, if the aftermath of Solo: Star Wars Story shows us anything at all, it's that the Star Wars franchise is poorly served by standalone films. No, it doesn't. Again, you are ignoring what the factors of this film. Again, there was production hell behind the scenes. You fired the original directors, reshot 80% of the film, had some, obviously they spent a crap ton on marketing. Doesn't mean it was the best marketing in the world, but then also you had people who were attached to the project like John Kasdan, and also other people who were attached to Lucasfilm like Rian Johnson attacking the fans beforehand. And then also you add in in that damn robot, L-337, and so many other things, and all of a sudden you have John Kasdan coming out the week before it opens, or just about so, saying, oh yeah, Lando's pansexual. Okay, that is the reason why, or one of the many reasons why this movie failed. Again, it was a mediocre film on top of that, so it didn't have the best word of mouth, but then also, it was tainted before it even came out. By The Last Jedi, by everything else that happened. Just admit it. Just admit to the facts. Again, any one of us can go to boxofficemojo.com or any other numbers site and can break down the numbers, and you can easily see that the numbers started to plummet after The Last Jedi came out. It shows you that The Last Jedi was so divisive of a film that it has now lost Disney money. It has now lost Lucasfilm money. It is the first, Solo is the first Star Wars film to ever lose money. Even the prequels made money. Solo is not. And it's not just because it's a standalone film. That has, again, that is nothing compared to everything else that's going on. Because you can make a really good standalone film with a great cast, with a great director, writers, etc., and you can make a crap ton of money. But the problem is you can't just make a story, a mediocre story, slap Star Wars on it, and expect people to go out and buy it, especially if at the same time you're going to be attacking people. Especially at the same time you're going to be attacking the fans who you actually want or expect to go see your film. See, this is what the problem is that they underestimated the power of the fandom. They underestimated how many people actually feel this way. And they are going to have a rude awakening if they continue this going forward. If they thought this was bad, wait until they spend so much more money on Episode 9 and they barely break even. Because at this point, just on my own estimates, again, based on the tracking of looking at Force Awakens and how much the money dropped from between Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, and how much the money dropped between Rogue One and now Solo, it's on the downward trend. And so unless they're able to do something major behind the scenes, and a good way to do that is to get rid of people who have made a decision. Again, Kathleen Kennedy is the one that greenlit the decision to refilm 80% of the film, ballooning Solo's budget, leading to it losing hundreds of millions of dollars. Again, at least $200 million is what's going to be lost by this film alone, and she's the one that's responsible for that. So she shouldn't be there anymore. You need to get rid of people like John Kasdan, people like Rian Johnson, who are just attacking the fans constantly, over and over again. And of course, there's so many other employees of Lucasfilm who have done the same thing. But you have to start there, because otherwise all the fans are going to see is, wait, you have the same people still in place, the same people who did all these things beforehand, and yet you're probably going to try and put a trailer out that's going to make people so hyped for it. Well, you know what? We're not going to buy it. Again, we are not going to buy it if that is what you're going to try and feed us, if you're trying to keep those same things in place. So, again, major changes need to happen before anyone even thinks about going to see Episode 9. Because, again, if you thought this was bad, keep going the way that you're going and wait and see what happens. All right, perhaps it's because of, as of yet, Lucasfilm has decided to hew too closely to the time frame established in the original trilogy, expanding upon the smallest details of characters for which we already know the outcomes. Again, that is a fair point, because Solo did that a lot. It focused on very small details of the Han Solo character, and it tried to expand upon them just a little bit. But again, that goes into the writing. So John Kasdan, that goes into the direction as well. Again, with the direction hell, again, because nothing against the directors, either set of directors before and after, because both of them are competent. Again, both sets are competent. Lord and Miller are competent, and also we have Ron Howard, who's also a very competent director as well, but that has nothing to do with it. Again, that's only a very small piece of it. That's only a very small piece of it, because again, if it was a good film and you didn't have all this other nonsense because of The Last Jedi, etc., this film probably would have made a crap ton of money. But again, there was all these factors going forward. All right, we can all likely agree that while there are certain swashbuckling fun to Solo, it didn't provide any new perspectives to those steeped in the mythos. Even the final reveal of Maul as the mastermind of Crimson Dawn doesn't impart a drastic new reading of the character to those familiar with him in the Clone Wars and Rebels animated series. Again, I'm someone who had not watched either of those series, and so that was the only good part. Other than Chewbacca as a character, that was the only good part that I was like, oh, that's really cool. But then I realized, wait a minute, they're introducing Maul into this universe, and they're going to totally screw him up in some way because of the people behind the scenes. So I really don't know what's going to happen with that. Christian Harloff of Collider recently stated that he felt Solo played a good long-form episode of the Clone Wars. I wouldn't say good. Again, I've watched some of the episodes of Clone Wars. Clone Wars are great. Even the first season, I will say. I know that a lot of people said that the first season isn't the strongest. I am thoroughly enjoying the Clone Wars so far. I'm about halfway through Season 1 at this point, and it's really good. I would not say Solo is the same thing. Again, there's a lot more going on in Solo, so I wouldn't even put it on the same level. This feels like the correct reading of the film. The television and streaming arms of Lucasfilm are the best place to tell singular and granular stories within the Star Wars universe. Upcoming shows like Jon Favreau's 10-episode series and Dave Filoni's Resistance will expertly tell new stories built around the smaller aspects of the universe that we've heard about but have yet to see. Having the smaller standalone stories to play out on streaming services will also serve the saga film's push forward with bold new stories. With Star Wars Episode 9 just over a year away, we will undoubtedly be leaving the Skywalker saga behind. Yeah, that's a huge mistake. Just what happened with Last Jedi when you try to do that. Moving forward, Lucasfilm will have the exhilarating chance to truly deliver a bold new Star Wars series. And again, there's just so much subtext in that. A bold new Star Wars series. Yes. If by bold and new you mean SJW nonsense, which is the direction that they're going, yeah, good luck with that. Again, you tried that with Last Jedi in some ways, especially the people behind the scenes. You tried that with Solo, especially with characters like L337, and look what happened. Again, Last Jedi did make $1.3 billion. It did make a profit, but that's $700 million less than The Force Awakens, and now Solo is going to lose at least $200 million at the box office. So, Dork Side of the Force, please just wake up. Again, please just get your head out of your rear end and start to just acknowledge the facts, just acknowledge the reality of the situation, that the fans did have a huge impact on the box office, that the have a huge platform now to stand on, because now that we know that we have this kind of power to hopefully make some change happen, if change doesn't start happening, again, just wait until that bold new Episode 9 that leaves the Skywalker franchise behind. Yeah, good luck with that, because again, we've already now had confirmation. I just read an article recently where it's been confirmed that Luke Skywalker is confirmed for Episode 9. Now, whether or not it's in flashbacks or Force Ghosts, again, that's really something that we don't know at this point, but pretty much that's what they have to do. They really have to tease that, because otherwise you're not going to really bring anybody else in. Because if you're just relying on Rey, if you're just relying on Finn, again, I think they're decent characters, but if you're just relying on them, especially now that we've lost Leia, I'm sorry, but you're not going to have a story. You're not going to have a story that's going to make any money. So thank you very much, guys, for listening. What do you think about Dork Side of the Force? Do you think that any of the articles are good? Do you think that there's anything there that doesn't follow this outlandish story that they're trying to tell, that just does not bear and does not last when put to scrutiny, that does not exist within reality? Please let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you saw, please give me a thumbs up. Please give me a subscribe if you haven't. And also, please leave me a comment below. I love having discussions with everybody. And so please, as long as you leave it constructive, as long as you keep it in the pursuit of dialogue, I will absolutely respond to you if I can. If you have any questions, also leave them down there as well. So thank you very much, guys, for listening. Have a great day. And as always, God bless.